welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. I'm going to be using this gorgeous Cheerful Meadow paper pack today to create 5 really quick and simple cards. And I absolutely love creating this kind of really simple but really beautiful card. And this paper pack is so lovely. You get 24 sheets. And it's 2 of each design, but you actually kind of get 4 of each design. So I'll show you that in a second because they're double-sided. So there's this lovely floral, and there's this on the back. Then you can see this one is this same pattern, but it's got this on the back. So you get 2 of that with that on the back and 2 of that with that on the back. So you actually get each pattern 4 times, but it's got something different on the back of it, which is really nice because it means that if you don't like one particular pattern, then you can use the other sheet. So for example, if I didn't like this particular purple pattern, then I can use this pattern here, and I can use this pattern here. And if you particularly really like one pattern, then you can use it 4 times instead of 2. And you'll see as I'm turning them over that some of them I still have 2 of left, some of them I only have 1 of left because I've cut everything ready for the video. So it's a really beautiful bright pack of paper, and like I said, we're just going to have a bit of fun with it and create some nice cards. I'm going to create a few that just use the pattern paper and some sentiments, and then a couple that involve dies as well. So for this first card, I've got a piece of this floral paper. As you can see, I've cut that from this here, and I've cut it down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, even though I'm going to cut it up because I just wanted to make sure that I'm getting the right section of the flower, because I'm going to cut this piece of the flower out. So it's really easy to do. I just want to cut along this edge, and I'm leaving a little white edge around the outside because I want it to kind of stand up off this paper because we're going to use that with it. And this paper is really nice quality. It's actually £80 cardstock, so it's really thick. And then I've cut this piece 5.5 by 2 3/4 inches, and the reason I've done it that big is so that it covers kind of the area that's not going to be covered by this. So then I'm going to glue this piece on. And then this piece I'm going to pop up on foam coats. Then I've cut 2 of these thanks dies. That's the thanks from this Himalayan blue poppy layering die set. Put a little bit of double-sided adhesive sheet on the back before I die cut it so that I can just glue those together really easily. And then I'm going to add that onto my card. And then I love to add embellishments. Let's add some of these enamel dots. These are the essential black and white ones. And there's that card finished. So for the second card, I'm going to use a really simple idea using this J die on the large letters. And I'm going to cut that J out of here. So I've got a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card blank. I've got this piece which is 1/4 inch smaller from the paper pack. I'm going to cut a J out of the middle of that. So then I'm going to glue this J onto a piece of black cardstock. And then I'm just going to freehand cut a border around it. And you needn't worry, even though it's not going to be perfect, like none of us can cut like a die can. The paper that we've got below is very busy, so as long as you do kind of like a half decent job, then no one's really going to notice. So then I'm going to pop that up on some foam pads. And I'm going to put this back on here, making sure that all those lines line back up again really nicely. So then I'm going to use this birthday greeting stamp set, which is a real favourite of mine. I'm going to use this happy birthday here. I love this one because most of the cards I make are birthday cards, and it's just got so many different shapes and sizes of birthday greetings. And then I'm just going to heat emboss that in white onto some black cardstock. So then I'm just going to use some foam strips just to pop that sentiment up. And then again I'm going to add a few of these little enamel dots as well. That's that card finished. So then this next card is like the quickest, simplest card. All I've done is I've taken part of this piece here, I've cut it down to 4 1/4 by 3 3/4, and then I'm going to cut it lengthways into 1 1/4 inch strips. So I'll have 3 1 1/4 inch strips. And this is absolutely beautiful paper, so I didn't want to do too much to it. And just doing this just adds a bit of interest without kind of taking away too much from the beauty of the paper. So then all I'm going to do is I've got a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card blank, and I'm just going to glue on my strips. So then I've got 3 of these thanks that I was using for previous card, and I'm going to put 2 of them on here. This is sticky dots, and I always use this if I have forgotten to put fine die cuts through my die cutting machine with the double-sided adhesive sheet on the back. You can see this kind of adds like dots of glue to the back without creating like a big sticky mess. So then I can just glue these together. I don't think that this particular brand is made anymore, but I have had a few questions about this. So I'm going to link to another brand that do something very similar in the supplies, but just know it's not this brand. I've not tried it out, but it looks very much like it is a really, really similar product. And it's just so useful because, like you can see, like you can just put it on no problem. And sometimes with these kind of very detailed die cuts, if the glue washes out or something like that, then it can become a bit of a sticky mess quite quickly. So now that I've got my 3 all together, you can see it's a much thicker die cut, so it'll stand out better on the card. So I'm going to stick some more of these on the back of there. So that's a really quick and simple card, and that's obviously great if you need a lot of thank you cards as well. So for this next one, I'm just going to do some decoupage. So I've got 2 of these pieces of pattern paper, which I've cut in exactly the same place. So I've cut it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I've made sure to cut it off at the bottom and this side so that they're in exactly the same place. And that just means where it's cut off will be the same when we're cutting it out. So I've got this happy birthday sentiment, which is from that same birthday greeting set we used on the first one, and I'm going to stamp this before we do any cutting, because if I get it wrong I can always just stamp it on the other one then. So if this went wrong on here, then I could just cut this one out and I'll stamp it again on there. So I've got kind of 2 chances to get it right essentially. I'm actually happy with how that turned out. And now that I know I'm going to cut this one out, I can use it a little bit because I want to see what some of the colours look like against this, because I want to colour this, but I want it to blend quite nicely in with this colour. So I'm just trying out a few markers to see which one goes nicest. And actually I really like this colour. I think that almost exactly matches this mid colour here. So I'm just going to colour this in with that deep red. And then I'm just going to cut this out. That pen that I ended up using, by the way, is the Vineyard Berry alcohol marker. So then now that I've got that cut out, I'm going to add this one to my card front. Then I'm going to pop this one up on foam pads. And obviously you could just leave this like this, but I think cutting this out and popping it on foam pads just adds that extra little wow factor to it. So I'm going to leave this as a really clean and simple card. And then the final card I'm going to create is another one where I'm going to use dies. So these are these decorative enamel dies, and I've just cut them out in black, and then I've used that thanks again. So again, we're going to make a really simple card. So I'm just going to add this onto here so that it's just sticking off the side. And if you've got the sticky dots, you could absolutely use those for this as well. So I've only just cut 2 of each of the buttons from this set, so it's really quick and simple to do in your die cutting machine. So even though we're using our dies on this, the pattern paper is doing a lot of the work, so it still comes to be a really quick and simple card. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just glue this bottom corner of this one, and I'm going to add that on there, and then I'm going to trim the excess off the side, and then I'm going to use this corner of that same die cut to fill in this bottom one so that we don't have to die cut another one. So then I'm going to use some of these enamel dots just for the centres of these, and then I'm going to pop my thanks on here. And then I've got a 5.5 by 4.25 inch card blank that I can just then glue this onto. Then there's that one finished. So then there are all 5 of today's cards, all really quick and simple, but really pretty, using that beautiful Altenew paper. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's cards. If you did, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the supplies that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.